my sexuality isn't driven, which I would say that's probably not very typical. I think the typical male sex drive, I think what fucks a lot of guys up is if they see a trans woman, there's enough like information in the visual image of that trans woman to trigger his sexual arousal. Like if they get turned on by the sight of a trans woman because it's got everything there, just not the vagina, right? So a lot of men, they're sexually stimulated by the sight of a trans woman, like a trans porn star or whatever. So yeah, I would say that probably most straight guys would be into trans porn, right? Because like if you think about porn, like think about like straight porn. There's a naked dude and there's a girl, and you can see the guy's cock, right? So there's nothing weird about looking at a cock. Guys look at cocks all the time. So what difference does it make if the cock is on a man or a woman? It's just like, okay, well, you can get rid of the man and just keep his cock, and you can take the woman and put the man's cock on the woman, and it's the same thing you were watching before. So, but I don't know. I'm rambling.
Yeah, it does.
I'm just trying to figure things out.
Yeah, it does make perfect sense that it makes sense for males to find trans women attractive if they are like stimulated by like pretty much anything. And there is also the only thing really is that if you are specifically only into vaginas, it might be a small problem. Then you might want to watch like a lesbian, a cis lesbian, and a trans female, because the issue is that SRS still isn't good after all these years. So this is like the main caveat with that. Because if you specifically want a vagina, you might not prefer trans porn, but a lot of guys just want to watch whatever.
Yeah, I had a roommate. He was really into this porn site. Forget what it was called. God, it had some name like Cunny or something like that. I can't remember the name of the site. But all it was just really, really young women, like fresh 18 women who had like really aesthetic vaginas. And he would just and they would just, it was just like close-ups of their vaginas. Like they would show the girl and then they would zoom in on her vagina and it would just be just pussy. And he showed me it. I forget the name of the fucking site now. It had a really like memorable name. And he showed me the site one time. He's like, "This is what I'm really, really into." And he had a girlfriend whose vagina he didn't like, but she was really, really cool. She was like a perfect match for him, but he didn't like her vagina, and so he broke up with her. So yeah, there are some guys that are like that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the others?
If you think about it also, like if you watch porn, you can either watch like a guy and a girl, or you can watch a trans woman and like a cis woman if you want the POV stuff. And for many males, I might actually prefer having like the trans woman that not have like a full dude like with a girl. This might be a thing like for a lot of males. I think they don't want to like look at the male in porn.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could specialize if you were a trans porn actress and you just did quote unquote heterosexual porn where it's just like a trans woman and a cis woman. That might be like the highest category. I don't know what the categories are, but that might be like the most popular. I don't know.
There's this. What is very important here is that you shouldn't like call it like straight. This is still lesbian porn in effect, because you're still looking at two women. The only difference is that you have a penis there, which is like if you think about it, I think a lot of like attraction to men is just that some women just want dick. This is like the thing that they really want, because it gets them turned on, and they can like this is like a nice sexual tool that you really cannot get elsewhere. Like you cannot get the same thing by using your fingers, for example. So you need to have a cock in order to have great sex.
Yeah, well, it's okay. So from a sex doll user, I can tell you, if you wanted to properly analyze what's going on, it's a cock with a fuck machine attached to it, because they have a thing called dildos and they have vibrators, but they don't want to use the vibrator every time. There's a what's that one girl? Forget her name, but she made the video that's called All Alone, where she's like, I don't want to have to use my vibrator every time. Forget her name. Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne. Yeah, she did a music video, and one of the lyrics in the video is, "I don't want to have to use my vibrator every time." And what she's saying is that like, sh there is. I like your deconstruction where you're saying there's she doesn't want the man, she doesn't want the person, right? She's not interested in the guy that's fucking her. She's interested in the fact that she's being fucked by a guy that's hot or whatever. Like, she's objectifying the guy. Like, it's a real cock, it can squirt cum, it's made out of flesh and blood, and it's got a fuck machine attached to it. And the reason why the connection to the sex doll is that people don't understand that a sex doll is like a really good cum dumpster. Like, they think that I get like sexually aroused by the doll, or that I have an emotional attachment or feelings for the doll, and they project that onto me. I figured that out from talking to Hormaxer. I was like, no, 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 no. The doll is just it's a better cum dumpster, right? It's better than a gym sock. It's better than my hand. It's just a good cum dumpster. And why is it a good cum dumpster? Is because it's got all this stuff attached to it. It's a cum dumpster with titties and ass attached to it. It's a cum dumpster that's got like a head that I can put my head next to. So it's just a really high quality cum dumpster. So kind of like what I think women think about men the way I think about my sex doll cum dumpster. It's like in terms of utility. But it's not just, it's a gestalt utility, right? It's not just a hole for me to fuck. It's not a fleshlight. It's not a dildo. It's much more than that simple thing. Anyway, that's that.
Yeah, but if you look at males, for example, like as a male, you don't really want to have sex with other men, even if you're seeming into that, because it's super bad for your status even today. Like, I think women will be turned off by you being bisexual. But like, women don't have like anything against like having sex with men. This is like almost encouraged. So because of that, if a woman has like some fetish, if it isn't like a real full androphilia, this is some pseudo androphilia thing where she just want to get fucked, and this is the main thing. Then
Yeah.
she might feel like attracted to males because of that, and she doesn't care because there is no like social like price to pay for it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to take that concept of pseudoandrophilia. A lot of people on the server don't know what that is. When I say the word pseudoandrophilia, they're like, "What the fuck is that?" So that a lot of people haven't really followed along that part of the conversation. Like, even on the transmaxxing server, they're confused by that term. I understand it. I'm trying to take that concept and kind of like flip it around and see if I have like pseudogynephilia. Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm not.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
order
go
for
ahead.
you to have that, you need to be not genuinely attracted to women, you just like some aspect with them. And this is unlikely if you're a male, by the way, because males tend to actually love females fully, they tend to have the full attraction.
Yeah, no. That's the thing is, okay. So here's how I would describe it. So the thing that would make it not pseudo is I think men want to fuck the woman, but they also want to take care of the woman, right? They want to like marry the woman, keep the woman, feed the woman, protect the woman, right? And so you would say maybe that instinct is not pseudo. That's like genuine love. But I think a lot of people would say, no, that's not genuine love. That's utilitarian. You just want to control and possess the woman. And,
Yeah, this
it
is
sounds like genuine love.
yeah, but you shouldn't like care about people. This is a very common thing, is that people will like insert motivation for other people's actions based on no evidence, and this is like something you shouldn't do. I think
Wait, are you talking about me or society?
I'm talking general that people like to like assume reasons for people doing stuff without evidence. This is very common and you shouldn't really do that. You should like if someone like says that he has some motivation, you kind of need to like assume that he's telling the truth because is it the best way of finding out how things are than to like try to think that everyone is lying to you because then you can like justify any false belief. So you kind of have to like
Yeah.
rely on people self-reporting in a semi-accurate manner. And yeah, like if you look at how males treat women, they tend to actually love them. They want to cuddle with the women, they want to kiss them, and they want to do all these things with them. They want to really be around women. Like women often, was it you that did this video that women don't really want men? They are perfectly happy being like not with men. And this is the sign
Yeah.
of pseudo-androphilia because they don't really want to be around men or they don't care about it more accurately. This is like a big thing also that like people like Destiny don't want to understand is that the women don't care about like the risk of being raped and she like uses revealing clothing and goes home alone to a guy. Like Destiny like thinks that she's like really afraid of being raped and too stupid to like protect herself, but in reality she don't care like at all really. Like I can give
Oh,
you an analogy about it. Just look at COVID, for example. Just look at how many people just didn't care about it and like didn't wear a mask or anything and just ignored it because the people don't want to like change how they live based on risk. And like women are the same, like they don't really care about like consequences. They just do whatever because women are like because women know that like even if they get raped or whatever they can have an abortion if they get pregnant they can and then they will like feel people feel sorry about them and all that. So like
yeah, they get.
unless they get killed or something it doesn't really matter too much to them. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, they that's a common fantasy too, where like they secretly want, yeah, they're wearing revealing clothing. They don't consciously want it, and yeah, that the whole conversation around it is like, I don't think it's as, the negativity of the experience of having non-consensual sex. I think this would be an opinion that would get you labeled as a rape apologist, but like I don't think the negativity of their experience is in proportion to the punishment that's meted out legally. So like they want to throw you in America, they want to throw you in prison for up to 30 years, right? But I don't think women experience that level, like a murder level of discomfort from it. Some of them report orgasming while having the act on done to them, right? Some of
Yeah,
them,
I
and it's actually
can
very common.
answer the reasons for the high punishment. And this is very common, like governments do that a lot, is that if they notice that they have a law and people don't care about it and they will like do the disproportionate punishment relative to the crime just to like make people follow the law. So if you have like males who are like fucking women rough because they know that if it goes to court, like it is his burden against hers. Because of that, they like overcompensate by being super draconian just because they really want to enforce a feminist dogma upon the people. So I believe the reason for this high punishment against rape is that they really want to like push feminism upon the people and then they really need to go hard on rape like disproportionately hard relative to like other crimes. And this is like
Yeah,
very strange, very thing, reason why I really hate the American legal system. Because the American legal system like have this extreme punishment for rapes, but when it comes to like someone like maiming someone else, it's not nearly the same punishment. So you are like betting off like doing genital mutilation to a young boy than to like rape a woman in terms of the law. So this is like
yeah. I tried to make that argument once that like I was with a group of friends and I was like, okay, well, like, just I said, think about a property crime. Like, uh, if you have sex with a woman against her will, that's kind of like a theft of $200,000 because that's about what it takes to raise a child in America, right? So you're like stealing $200,000 worth of labor from the woman,
Yeah, but
and I
this
said,
is
okay,
yeah, but this is not
what?
true though, because it's not $200,000, because you have to look at the probability of her like getting pregnant, and then you also have to subtract what you will pay in child support from the cost.
No, I'm just saying, like, if I raped a woman and she got pregnant and she had and like she was in an 1800s society, right? And she couldn't abort and there's no adoption and she was forced to raise the child and the sperm fertilized the egg, that would be a $200,000 property crime. My point was to make an analogy that it's like so if you put it in the category of property crime, what would the punishment be for that, right? A $200,000 theft. And I would say, oh, you might get 10 years in prison. So I said, okay, let's make rape punishable by 10 years in prison instead of 30. And everybody went fucking ballistic.
Yeah, of
They're like,
course.
oh, so you want women to get raped then? I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't
Yeah,
say decriminalize rape.
yeah,
Like,
but the thing is that the people are like that. They will always read into things you say all the time, and this is very frustrating. This was like with the transmaxxing manifesto. I wrote that if you don't have autogynephilia, you can try to induce it. And all this for saying that, oh, I was saying that you can induce this for whatever. Like, I didn't say that, never. But people read into it like that. Okay, and I said you can try to induce it. What does it say? It was, this was if I were saying that you could, I will say that you can induce it. But I didn't say I could try, meaning that I did not endorse like in the theory regarding like if it is innate or not. And people like,
yeah, well, you didn't say you should. You never said you should.
yeah, I don't I think I had like I might want to change because I have like auto transition. I think I actually had, if you don't feel like being a woman, you can try this or hypno or whatever, but yeah, I might like change some word, but doesn't matter. Like people will always find a reason to like attack me.
Yeah, well, Val and I were talking about that earlier. Are you there, Val? Still? Okay, maybe she is. We were talking about how people skim through the manifesto to find what they want. And so it doesn't matter. In a way, it doesn't really matter how long it is or how short it is or whatever. It almost needs to be longer because, we were talking about how the podcast of Lotus Eaters, they just went straight to the memes. Like they skipped everything else and they went to the memes, right? That's what they wanted. And then maybe a feminist will focus on this, and then some people focus on the testimonial stories. So like, what people do with it, that we figured, is that it's going to draw in a lot of people, a lot of different people from a lot of different angles, and they're going to skim and look for the part that they find shocking or that they find disturbing or disgusting or outrageous. They're just going to skim it and pick the parts that they want out of it. So I'm kind of in the camp that it should tend toward the longer side, because people aren't looking at it and saying, this is long, fuck it, I'm not going to read it. They're going, oh my God, this thing is so long, what's in it? And it draws their curiosity toward it. And then they end up going through the whole thing. And like I said, people are just skimming what they don't want to see or don't care about.
Yeah, I very much
So,
agree with that conclusion. I did use this transmaxxing flyer because I wanted to have something easy to post to like as a picture. But you are right that when it comes to the document, there is no reason to make it shorter at all.
yeah,
And
I agree.
I will talk about the memes and stuff. I think the best meme in the transvaccine manifesto is the virgin antidepressant user via stage transitioner.
Yep.
Because
That's the most provocative.
Yeah, this is the most true too. Like people really, because what it really does, and people as always people kind of don't want to like see the political point I made with that. So
Yeah. Well, no, I like I don't know. I don't think there's this impetus to constantly be iterating it. I don't see the impetus because like okay, it's not like you're making a fortune or any money. I guess you're not even making any money, right? It's just this thing that's there that forms a community that it acts like a gravitational nexus or whatever, like the nucleus of an atom that serves as the center of a planet that causes the moon to orbit around it. It's a gravitational space-time point or whatever, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of the fucking word. There's a technical word for that, but you could call it a concrescence. But I don't think there's necessarily any need to constantly be reiterating it, tinkering with it. I feel like maybe some of the issues that are more pressing seem to be like community facing issues, like um like I was asking Val, like what is the Politburo's position when somebody comes in and they start spiraling out of control, like somebody says, oh, you're never going to pass, and then Val says, no, you could get FFS, and like you get these people who kind of can't handle reality. There was like one concern, and then I was telling Val, I'm going to bring up a whole bunch of shit at once. You can respond however you want. I was telling Val that trans women should curate their aesthetic to be more like supermodels, because supermodels are tall, they have broad shoulders and narrow hips, and they have masculine facial features. So that if you want to pass, what you need to do is pass yourself off as a supermodel, and that you need to like move your aesthetics in that direction if you were AMAB. Because you're more likely to pass as a supermodel than as a conventionally curvy, voluptuous, short, reproducer breeder woman. You're not gonna pass yourself off as a breeder, but you could pass yourself off as a tall, masculine faced supermodel. And I was trying to point out that when supermodels take their makeup off, they have very masculine faces. That was one thing. And then the third thing, final point, give it back to you, is that there's this line in transmaxxing, I don't remember where, but it was like, if you're a failed man, it was like there was a 9-point list, and I think number 3 was if you're a failed man. And I was telling Val that like I was saying, Val, you're not a failed man, you're a woman. You didn't fail as a man, you're just better off as a woman. You're better as being a woman. So like, if you think of yourself as a failed man and you label yourself that, you can never affirm your gender identity to yourself. And so there might be elements in transmaxing that are like a little bit triggering to people who are trying to psychologically deal with their transition. I'll type out the 3 things I said so you can respond. Go ahead.
The thing about that is that you're a failed man if you like before you start transitioning, but then you stop being a failed man like after you become a woman. They are no longer that.
Okay, so your response is that they're just no longer transition. So I'm going to type a question. Transition makes it so that you are no longer a failed man. That's a question. Oh, and then I was saying the supermodel aesthetic.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree
supermodel.
with that. I actually had in the another transmaxxing manifesto, I had this thing, it's okay to be have a masculine facial traits as a female. This is like something that frustrates me a lot. If I have this part in the transmaxxing manifesto, and it's really frustrating when I put effort into like adding these things and people are just not paying attention. This is very annoying. So I just put the section and this is like,
oh, I remember this. Go ahead.
So I added, this is one example of something I add to the transvaccine manifesto, and like people are totally ignoring what I am saying. So here I'm saying that it's okay to have like masculine traits, and it also implies that you maybe shouldn't have like facial surgery. Maybe you should like keep your masculine face if you have that, because you might actually be better off that way as a woman than to be like make yourself more feminine in the face. So FFS might actually not be beneficial if you transition. I have suspected
Yeah,
that
what
was
is
because like if you read trials, like there is no evidence that FFS improves quality of life in trans women at all, really, or
wait,
very
what doesn't improve quality of life?
there is as much evidence that FFS improves quality of life in trans women. It just is
Did you say passing?
no FFS, facial feminization
Oh,
surgery.
FFS. There's no. You said there's no evidence that FFS improves their quality of life. Okay, I
Yeah,
could. I was having trouble understanding you.
yeah,
Go
there
ahead.
is
Go
no
ahead.
evidence really. Like there's one really weak study that is maybe a small effect from it, but this is not evidence of anything really because it was too small effect. Like there was like a study that indicated that it was like trans women who had surgery had better mental health, but then in that surgery group there were way many people on HRT, which we know is effective. But then I like tried to do some calculation to like control for it, but it was like impossible. But when I like tried did this like bad method control for being like a long term transitioner or like being a HOT, it was SRS was detrimental and FFS was maybe slightly beneficial, but it was like no bad statistical methods and everything. This is like the worst method you can use. So this is like
Well,
the
okay. I want to respond to that. Okay, that actress's name is Cara Delevingne, and I forgot that was in the Transmaxing Manifesto, and I was bringing up Cara Delevingne with Val, and I was saying if you look at Cara Delevingne, she's they have these armies of makeup artists and hairstylists and clothing stylists that follow them around, and before they go in front of the camera, they do all this crazy contouring makeup and all this shit, right? I said if you look at her with her makeup off, she looks like a fucking caveman, right? She looks like a goblin, and that aesthetic that you see, and I was trying to explain to somebody else, they're like, well, why would modeling agencies want to? I was saying that modeling agencies pick women who are particularly tall, 5'10" or above. They have broad shoulders, narrow hips. They're very tall. They're very thin, and a lot of times they have masculine facial features. And he didn't believe me, and I was like, "Do you understand why they do that?" And he didn't understand it. And I said, "The reason why they do that is to create an image that that women cannot attain, so that they can sell them more products, right? So that they're saying this is beauty, you can never attain it, but if you buy these products, you can move toward it, and so it creates a higher level of sustained demand, right?
this
Because
is
if just being, yeah, does that make sense?
this is a very interesting theory. I haven't seen evidence for it. But the thing with a lot of models, and it's the same with artists, is that these people are pushed by like companies and stuff. It is not organic. Like
Yeah.
advertisers and stuff select these people and push them. So it's not like you get successful as a model. You are selected to become a model, and they like decide. So it's shown in the down people's throats that these are like attractive. This might not actually be but makes relevant, but this is like the same with music, like for a very long time with music they decide record label like pay to have songs played on the radio, so it's like a super rigged system, and this is why all the music is so bad, because they like this pay to win system, so it doesn't matter what type of song it is, it doesn't matter if it is bad, and it doesn't matter if the artist can sing or not, because even if the artist cannot sing, they all do this all this processing. So the artist really doesn't matter in the end. It's all about like processing and marketing and all the stuff, which is like
Yeah, you use the word attractive, and I was going to say Attractive is probably something like psychobiological. What they're doing is pushing something that's fashionable. So maybe this year, these types of models are going to be doing what's fashionable, and then next year it's going to change. And so what women are trying to do is they're trying to stay in fashion. It's probably not even necessarily attractive. Like supermodels probably may not even be like attractive to a lot of men. A lot of men might look at supermodels and not be attracted to them because they're not particularly feminine. Like that picture you posted of Cara Delevingne, I don't think. I mean, she's not conventionally attractive. I mean, she's got flat cheeks, and I don't know. She's just not. She's not attractive, right? Do you think in those terms? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, she does look kind of attractive in another photo. Like in that picture, she looks more masculine. I think
Okay, okay.
this is the only cis female in the transvaccine manifesto. I think.
Yeah, no, she's a great example. She's great. I mean, look at her fucking brow bone. It's like a flat line that goes all the way across right above her eyes. She has really narrow, slitty eyes. She has a flat upper lip, and she has a really wide jaw. She has a really thick neck too, and a long forehead. She has a very masculine face. Very, very masculine.
Yeah, and this is also a thing that this is something that I've seen like I've done before is that sometimes I have like a semi insight like it's okay to have a masculine face as a woman, but then I just don't really work into it. But that might actually be a game changer for transvaccine because then you don't really need to have this feminine face to benefit from it. You might benefit from it like just if you start young regardless of face.
Well, okay, if as an aesthetics expert, or not expert, but I'm a polymath, right? So I flirt with expertise in a lot of different areas, and then I move on. So like, if I had to like make a recommendation for facial feminization surgery, if you look at some of the issues that trans women have with their face, um, I think a lot of it. If you look at her nose, she's got a very like estrogenized nose. Like it's kind of like smaller. It's not bumpy. It's smooth. I think a lot of trans women just need a nose job, right? Because they kind of have like a large bumpy nose. I think, and that's it's both aesthetics and it's passability, right? Like if Cara Delevingne had a man nose, she would be extremely ugly and she might get clocked as a man. But notice how her nose is very feminine. So I think a lot of trans women just need a nose job. They don't need full FFS because everything else about her face is masculine that I can detect. Her cheeks are masculine, jaw, chin, upper lip, um, brow ridge. She has wider eyes. She has like bigger eyes. So her eyes are pretty feminine. The only feminine thing about her is her eyes and her nose. And so like, but if she had a really like bumpy masculine testosterone nose, you would think that she's ugly. The main thing that makes her aesthetically pleasing and female passing is her nose. So like, I think a lot of trans women just need a nose job for the most part. But or maybe they have like too big of a brow ridge and they want to shave their brow ridge down. If you look at that picture you posted, her brow ridge is kind of small and flat, and it just like sits as a line like a T going down to her nose. So like if you had a surgeon who just like flattened out your brow ridge a little to look like that, you could just take them a picture of this and say, I want to look more like this. Just flatten. I don't know. It's not. I think facial feminization surgeons probably. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm naive on this, but I think a lot of probably what they're trying to do is they're trying to turn a man's face into like a classic female face, like a natal female face.
Actually,
And what they should be doing. Go ahead.
Actually, what most surgeons will do is that they will do some minor stuff with the face. So if you look at a lot of before and after with the FFS, there is like not much difference before and after. It's like almost the same. So people are like paying like $40,000, and they say you can hardly tell the difference afterwards. This happens all the time.
Ugh. That's fucked. No, you should. I think what trans women. But again, you're not a self help channel or whatever. So we're kind of because like the community has needs. Like you'll have people that come around with needs, and that's I guess that's what I'm posting about is they need to understand what they need to do to pass better. And like if I had to give advice, it would be like don't focus on passing, focus on looking like Cara Delevingne. That would be my advice
Yeah.
because she's probably without her makeup and hair, she's not really female passing. She's kind of a caveman. So I would say don't focus on female passing. Focus on looking like her, and focus on aesthetics, not passing. And but I was going to get to the more general question because I think that's well. Anyway, to finish the point about FFS, if I had to recommend to a trans woman what to do in terms of FFS, where they would get the most benefits, it would be the nose and the brow ridge. If they can get there, if they can like flatten out their brow ridge into a line like that picture in VC text, they could do that, and they could get their nose. If they could get rid of like the bumps in their nose to have a smooth nose like that, I think that's not that you're saying they're going and getting these surgeries. Well, I don't know what procedures they're having, but those are probably the two that are the most. I don't want to say clockable, but I want to say aesthetic, right? Because you want to have the aesthetics of a supermodel. Um, that's my philosophy. I don't know, take it or leave it. The other thing I was going to say is, so this, like in terms of like the community, um, there's sort of like this intersection of like I was asking Val like if somebody comes into the server and they can't handle like the reality of what it means to transition or something like that. Like what is the what's the attitude? I guess I'm trying to like pull back the curtain to the Politburo, and like the Politburo is like, no, this is not a nursery. We're not here to hold your hands. Like, or is it like get the fuck out of here? You're you're not mentally well, and we don't want to associate with you. Like, what's I guess like what's your attitude about like these kind of like mental health type things?
The way we try to manage these things is that we try to like get individual under our control, and there are various ways to do that. So rather than try to just get rid of them, we try to gain control over them. So for example, we can use timeouts, we can use roles to like give people the sissy role or incel role. We can confine people to the shitposting channel. So we can do all these things to like constantly like force them to behave in ways we like. And this tends to
Oh,
work in a lot of ways.
wow. Wait. Now, okay, so this is fucking fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating to me. So your model of government actually works on Discord. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
Wow. Holy fucking shit. Have you ever published a like a synopsis or like a breakdown of the implementation of your model of government like this is like fucking fascinating to me.
I have not done that much writing regarding this experiment here because this Discord is actually a test drive for pure elite rule or full authoritarianism. Because often when people say authoritarianism, they mean like semi-authoritarian, where you have like maybe like the government or like one part of the government becoming dominant. But I mean, what I want is that I want to have it fully. So in this server there is no like check to the power of the Politburo. There is no like people cannot appeal or anything here. So let's say someone is dissatisfied with what the Politburo or what the moderator does. Like you cannot appeal, that the only other Politburo members can like complain about it, which usually doesn't happen. What usually happens is that people just kind of respect what other mods do. So if a moderator, let's say, times out someone, then it's expected that most of the time no other moderator will like remove that. because we don't want to overrule each other. This tends to happen when you have elite rule, is that different people in government don't want to like overrule and like try to fight each other. Usually it will become more like a team where we work together.
I mean, this is fucking fascinating. Like, there's this whole political ecosystem attached to transmaxxing that creates a reality in a way. Like, your political system creates a psychological reality. Does what I'm saying make sense?
Yeah, what
Like,
you're getting at here is that the Politburo is enforcing and constructing something below them rather than the other way around. This is the defining factor of authoritarianism. With authoritarianism, the society is constructed from the top and down below to the bottom. So the Politburo doesn't answer to the people answer to the Politburo. And this is how this Discord works. So we like
wow.
control everything, like we can even like control a discussion, like if we deem something to be pseudoscience, we just delete it and don't allow it to be promoted here.
Wow. So it's like, you know how people LARP as communists, and like whenever they get called out on, well, you know, if you don't believe in property, why don't you just give everything away? And they make all these excuses. They never actually like live out their philosophy. They don't embody it. And it's like, if you have a philosophy, if you have a political philosophy that works, well, why don't you just implement it? Why are you talking about it? Fucking do it, you know? And it's like, your approach is, you're like, yeah, fuck it, we're doing it, we're living it, like it works.
Yeah, and what also is interesting here is that I am not hiding at all that this is the authoritarianism. Like I am not hiding, like I'm calling it the Politburo, and I'm not pretending that this is like that other people have power here. So I'm very open about that we are in charge over this place, and it works actually pretty well. People like.
I wish you had been recording. Hey, you should just record. Anytime we have a conversation, you should just record.
I'm
just
recording, by the way.
Okay, good. Yeah, because there's all these. I'm telling you, I'm not shitting you. I'm not kidding you. I think that like, the way I was describing to like have a meta conversation, to have a conversation about conversation, like these conversations are like penetrating into these areas of life that actually affect a lot of people. Like, we're having conversations. I'm not saying we're doing this for the greater good, but there are like insights into human sexuality, insights into politics that are like very real and very penetrating. And it's like, all the data's out there. All you have to do is have a conversation to clarify, like, you know, and or like your experiment, your Discord experiment. It's like, you know, what I was saying about communism, like this is like very, very real, very applicable. And like when these people come into the Discord server and they can't handle the way things are run, or they can't handle the reality of the situation, or they want somebody to lie to them about some aspect of gender transition or something. It's like no, it's a fundamentally different paradigm that's actually working, if that makes any sense. Like, this is a totally different paradigmatic. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even like think. I can't even like wrap my mind around it yet.
Yeah, the reason why it's working here and why we don't have trouble with the people here is that we have firmly controlled the Politburo. So we don't allow, for example, we have a rule against disrespecting Politburo members. So we don't want to have like a debate regarding our legitimacy. We are in charge and that's it. So we decide. So and when it's very clear that we are in control, and when we don't give power to the users, so we don't run into people try to like to do political campaigns on our Discord, because it's pointless, because they have no power. While if you don't have a Politburo system, if you have like on most Discord you have like a one moderator, and he's like open and talking to everyone, and everyone wants to like influence that moderator. And this actually happened in the Discord I was a member of. It was the guy called Pasha, and he would let other people like push him to like do moderator actions. So like it was more than one occasion where he was like pushed into like banning me and stuff because other people in the server wanted me gone because live was like controversial. So it was that back and forth, and then he would like unban me, then he would like ban me without warning. And he also never explained to me what was allowed or not. He never told me that you don't do this, do that. He will just like ban me because he was thinking that I went too far, but he never wanted to talk to me and say that, oh, can you not do this, or please, I don't want you to do that thing. He never did that. He just like either ban me or let me be there. It was very weird. He couldn't like, but he didn't want to like be in charge. He let other people like influence him. So like when the mob didn't like me, he would like try to like kick me out. And this happened like more than once, and then he would like let me back in. Like I really go tired about it.
Yeah, I've been on Discord servers like that, what you're talking about, where it seems like it's people are open to debate, and it's free speech, and you can say whatever you want, and they're dropping the N-bomb, and everyone's laughing about it because it's free speech, and they just want to show how free speech they are. But then you have an opinion that that just like they don't want to like there's some majority on the server. You have an opinion that goes against the majority, and then they go to whoever the moderator is, and they're just like, oh yeah, fuck you, like, and it's like, wait a minute. So I held the wrong opinion on a certain topic, and I was right in my opinion. My opinion is correct, and it's not trolling. It's like evidence based, right? They just didn't want to face that reality, right? It's too painful for them to face that reality, so they're like, well, let's get rid of the pain. Like, let's gang up on this guy, let's get rid of the pain, and we can go back to our delusion,
Yeah, and this is why this server is different, because we cannot allow people to like have this influence. So this server is the opposite of mob rule. This is Politburo rule. So you cannot like complain to us or like try to gang up on anything. So this is why, for example, this is also why the Politburo system is there. Is that I want to discuss it with people, but I cannot like discuss it with random people in the server for obvious reasons. So I need to have people I trust to like discuss server matters. So this was the first iteration of the server system, is that we had a mod channel, and then I like had people I let into just the mod channel so we can discuss privately server matters, not have other people be involved in it. And the next iteration was that why not have people voting? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna circle back. I don't think you ever gave your opinion on my take on trans aesthetics. I don't. Did you ever like do you have like a position on that, or did you agree or disagree with my position on that?
It makes sense what you are saying, but the thing is also that if you are like visibly trans to other people, you will have a lot of trouble in society too, like depending on where you live. So you kind of need to be read as a cis female to avoid the bullshit.
Yeah, because I guess my point that I was trying to make is that, so like I was telling Val, we had a debate before you woke up. We were talking about psychiatric care, right? And Val is kind of against starting with psychiatric care because the psychiatrist gets to judge whether or not you're trans. They just like kind of look at you and talk to you, and you're subjected to their opinion about whether or not you're trans. And I was like trying to tell her, like, this is another thing that I realized. Like, you don't know whether or not you're trans until you take hormones. And so you have to be on hormones for like maybe like a minimum of 90 days. And I was saying that, like, if you find the effect of hormones to be like horrifying and unwanted, then you're not trans. And if you like the effect of hormones, then you're trans. And I was saying there's no blood test Like a psychiatrist can't draw your blood, they can't scan your brain. There's no test for transness. I said the only test for transness is if you take HRT. And like the
Yeah,
test
I have
is
to object partly to that. I don't think it
okay,
is
go
the
ahead.
case that it is this binary thing where you are like either trans or cis in your brain. I think what you have is have a scale in preference. So you can have a preference, a neurological preference for having like a feminine body. So let's say you look at the mirror, you might be happier if you see a female, or you might be happier if you see a male, or you might be like you don't care. And this is the correct model. So you can have a weak preference for femininity in yourself, or you can have a strong preference for femininity in yourself, or you can have a weak preference for masculinity or a strong preference for masculinity. Usually, like logically, for the preference to be strong, it tends to be needed to be sexual, because that's where you get a strong preference for one direction. Usually, it's called
Yeah, but
gynephilia, and
no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You want to take a more complex model, but I think most people they either can't comprehend your accurate complex model, or they can't comprehend it, or I'm trying to think.
yeah,
Because
but
because
this
in most people's minds it's like binary. You're either trans or you're not,
Yeah, but
right?
this is not
And
a complex model really. This is like a number from like you can have it's a very simple scale. You very much want to be male, or you very much want to be female. Like for like in terms of body image, in terms of like the satisfaction you get from your own body. So internal body satisfaction. I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but you have the scale from like relevant to have a masculine body for your own sake, or relevant to have a feminine body, like when you look at the mirror, and then you have like somewhere in between. This is not a hard model to understand. Like this is as simple as it gets. Pretty much, and people are they just caught in ideology and have a hard time like change it to a more accurate model. So it's not about complexity. It's just that people are like indoctrinated into gender identity politics and whatever other bullshit they believe in. This is not hard.
okay, okay, I see where you're going with it. What you're trying to say is that that there is an oversimplification. The oversimplification is not accurate, but people don't want to come out of that oversimplification because they're dedicated to an ideology. Is that
Yes. It's not
okay?
about
Okay, okay.
like it's not hard to understand the scale model. This is like a very simple model that is accurate and works, and it's simple to like it's not hard to work with it anyway. Like people often claim that you need to like divide people into like these binary groups or whatever. You don't for anything. It's bullshit.
Okay, well then to go to your model, you don't know what your preference is until you've taken hormones, because you don't know what hormones do, because you don't know if what people are telling you about hormones is complete and accurate, because some people are going to hide effects from you, and some people are going to emphasize certain effects and hide other certain effects depending on their ideological lens. And so you can't get an accurate depiction, and also you don't even know how they're going to affect you. So that I guess my point was that my point about psychiatry was that the general approach is backwards, and that like psychiatrists should be just saying, "Oh, you think you're trans? You think you want to transition? Here's hormones. Come back to me in 90 days." That's what they should be doing, but I don't think that's what they do.
Yeah, but there is one thing also. For some people, like if you're in doubt, you kind of need to try HRT to see for yourself, because there is this unpredictable mental effects from estrogen, and I've talked to many people, and some people are on estrogen, or like they are still like males, they don't really affect them that much, or seem to like still be male behavior, while other people become like very affected by it personality wise, or so it's these unpredictable things that you kind of need to try. You might go on it and then just stop it because it didn't work. And we need to like get away from this stigma about the transitioning. It doesn't have to be that bad, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the reason why detransitioning is stigmatized is because so there's biologically transitioning and there's socially transitioning. And in my mind, I associate the social transition with the word transition. I think there's HRT, and then there's gender transition, and then like your social transition is your gender transition. When people say that, that's what I equate. So like so I would say, well, you would go on HRT before you transition, and I think what people are doing is they're socially transitioning, right? They're like, oh, you're trans, okay, we're going to put you on female hormones, and then you need to go live as a woman the day you start HRT. And it's like, I think that's like an approach that people have that's like horribly destructive. Because, like you said, the reason why detransition gets stigmatized is somebody goes out, they come out of the closet, they tell everyone they're trans, they tell everyone they're on estrogen, they start dressing and speaking differently, and it's like you made this massive commitment to a decision, and everyone's cheerleading for that. Everyone cheerleaded you for that. Everyone praised you for that, and then you have to go back on that, and then everyone else looks stupid, and like, yeah, people are creating a mess for themselves when they do things that way,
Yeah,
and it would just be better if,
yeah,
yeah,
this is also, I think, one of the reasons maybe. Like at first I was thinking that if you start by hormones first, then it will be easier to socially transition later. You can like train your voice better and stuff. I think another maybe more important reason is that when you start HRT, you don't actually know yet if it's going to work out or not. So you need to wait before you say, okay, I like this effect, I want to like continue that. Then you socially transition when you feel like you really want to commit to it. So because it's almost easier to like do the hormone stuff than to socially transition. And it is the thing also that it's not like, let's say you come after trans and you have to tell your mother, your father, your brother, everything. And it's going to be very embarrassing. Oh, sorry, I like changed my mind. It's going to be not a pleasant experience. So you shouldn't like come out to them until you are very ready for it. You shouldn't rush this coming out stuff. You don't even have to do that. You can like just try hormones and say, then if it works out, you like continue with it.
yeah, yeah. What was I fucking? There was a meta topic that I was trying to breach into by bringing that up. I was talking with Val. Fuck, I forgot what we were talking about. But because Val and I were bringing up all these like maybe more community touching issues, and some of like the like that we were talking with somebody who was probably like repressing, and like the conversation like eventually Val was just like, are you a repressor, or maybe I said it, and so you have these, they're like these they're like these issues with the community. They have to do with passability and mental health and things like that, and it's like, well, that's your problem, like those are all your problems, right? Or like transmaxing is not a self-help community. It's a what is it? I don't even know what it like.
Yeah, it's sort of self-help, but the thing is that we don't really market it as such because we say that if we improve people's lives, but the thing is it's really hard to like help other people fix their shit. Like I have like tried it before, and usually it's one or two ways. Like either you cannot do anything because the issue is not lack of insight or information, or it is a case of the individual lacking insight and not listening to what you have to say. So either the individual have insight in the situation and have the information needed, but there is blocked in some way, like by the state, by living arrangement that you cannot really help the individual with. And this is very common. And what's less common is that there is someone who lack insight, don't want to listen, and is like ignorant, and these people usually you cannot really like help them because they don't listen to what you have to say. So this is also why I don't really do the self-help stuff too much, because I know that people will not listen to what I have to say. People will ignore my advice and do what they want to do.
Yep. Yeah, I've I've come to that same conclusion myself. Like, I think there's sort of an idealism when you're younger, you want to change the world, you want to make a difference. That you have sort of like an idealistic outlook on life, and then there's something that happens as you get older. I found that you kind of just have to focus on your own life because when you're focused on all this external shit, life kind of passes you by. And if you're not working on building a foundation up under your own 2 feet, if you're just like worried about everything around you, but not worried about your own life, what ends up happening is that your own life starts to fall apart. And out of necessity, you just have to focus on yourself. And it's like, oh, I focused on myself. I figured all this shit out. And when you go to other people and you're like, hey, I've got a solid foundation under my feet. This is what works. Like you said, they just want to do what they want to do. They want you to tell them what they want to hear. Like the people that come on the server and spiral, what they're coming for is they want somebody to tell them what they want to hear. And then when they come here and they don't get told what they want to hear, they fucking spiral out of control. So
Yeah, this individual, and she was asking to me like if he could pass, and I was asking for assessment, and I stated very clearly that this is not something I am good at doing, like not that good at assessing faces. And the individual sent me like selfies anyway, and he was 16, and I said that you looked more masculine than I expected, and I was thinking that he would need FFS despite being 16. And then he really spiraled out and was talking about like suicide and stuff. So like, how do you deal with that nonsense? Like, for one, I made it clear that I'm not good at assessing faces, so then he's going to like kill himself over my advice. I don't like that over what I say, because I said that I
yeah,
think he needed FFS. And I made it clear that I'm not good at that stuff. I'm not good at looking at faces and seeing if people can pass. Like, I have no experience with that at all.
yeah. I think I can. I don't want to say I'm good at telling if somebody can pass, but I can look at their facial structure and I can say, okay, well, you might want to get a nose job. Like, I could look at a particular trans person and say, like, oh, your nose is just giving you away. You got to get a
Yeah,
nose job. Like,
but I can't
if you just
say.
got a nose job, it would change your life. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I cannot do that. Like, I cannot look at someone's face, say what surgery they need or anything like that. Like, I'm not that type of person. Like, I can research HRT pretty well. I can like give stuff regarding financial stuff. I understand it fairly well too. So there are all these things I can do, but then people like try to ask me stuff that I just outside my expertise, which is kind of frustrating. Like, instead of like asking me for all the other thing I'm good at, they go to me for like passing assessment, and maybe I should just refuse it because but I can't really do that either. I can at least like give my recommendation, but it's hard to deal with people like that.
Well, and sometimes HRT is like magic. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Like sometimes you'll see someone before and after 2 years of HRT, and you'll be like, that fucking turned that person from a male into a female. Like it just magically transforms some people. But that's probably not typical. But for some people, they win this lottery. Like they take HRT, and it's like they win the lottery, and they get to live their dream or whatever. And then like for some people it doesn't do anything at all. And I think maybe like in terms of expectations, you would probably want to tell people like if your brand is like being realistic, it would be like, I have no idea how the fuck your transition's going to go. You're just going to have to do it. Like, like, and I'm not going to give you any advice about passing or anything like that. It's just like you're going to have to fucking try it, and maybe you're going to win the lottery, maybe you're not. Like, I don't fucking know. That's on you. Just be
Yeah,
callous about it.
that's a very good point. You actually don't know how Western is going to affect you, especially when you're like younger. Is not this predictable thing that is straightforward. Like it will be way
Yeah,
easier
yeah.
than.
There's no. I mean, you've probably seen. I guess like I don't know if like these before and after pictures that just like fucking blow your mind where you're like what the fuck, like how did you go from A to B, you know, like how does that work, you know? And it like it fucks with your head because you're like if you saw the person before they transitioned, you'd be like, oh, there's no way that guy's gonna pass, you know. And then you see the before and after and you're like, what the fuck, did you take magic beans? You know. But
But I think in a lot of
uh
cases it's also makeup stuff like in angles and with some of these photos. Like
filters.
if it isn't video, it's kind of unreliable.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably a filters involved, makeup filters, angles, lighting, makeup, trickery. Hey, but what I mean, but what do you think this picture of Cara Delevingne? What do you think that is? I mean, she didn't look like that the morning she got up. She looked like a fucking caveman. When she got out of bed, she looked like a caveman. A lot of people can't look at that picture of Cara Delevingne and understand. I'm tempted to post in voice chat one of her like ugly paparazzi pictures.
Yeah,
Let me see
you
if I can
should
find one. But
do
like,
that.
do what?
Yeah, post that is useful for education.
Okay, I'll look one up after we're done talking. I'll find one, just so people can understand like how fake her look is and like the it's I don't know, people don't understand, they don't understand the power of makeup, I guess. Like there's a picture of her where like she's on the street, she's wearing, oh yeah, there's some real good ugly pictures of her. She just looks like a fucking goblin. She looks like a boy. She's not even female passing. Like if you look at a photo of like her ugly pictures that the paparazzi get, like you might think she's like a little gay guy or something, like an ugly gay guy. I don't know. I'll post him after. I'll look him up after we're done talking. But
Yeah,
yeah.
something I've been thinking about for a while is that maybe it's better if you want to transition if you just do HRT temporarily. So you like go on like hormones for a year to go breast, and you like stop, and then you like start again. Like you do these things till you get the breast growth from HRT, which is the only good way to get breast growth. There's like no other method that is, as far as I know, that has good results. And then you just stop, so you like get back into testosterone, and then you rely on like makeup and maybe like facial surgery for passing instead. This might be a better
Hmm.
method because
Huh.
the main issue with HRT, which I've talked about too, is that it affects fertility, and it's also bad because like a lot of like porn and stuff is relying on like the semen and people following that, and you cannot really do that stuff if you nothing comes when you are trans woman. So you actually don't want to have that effect from the hormones. This is like the main issue with HRT. And the frustrating thing is that when I bring that up in like medical or like anywhere else, like nobody else cares about it. I just get ignored again. So
Hmm.
here is like the part of the transmaxxing manifesto people ignore. It is like the idea of like stopping HRT, but also get ignored is the thing about it's okay to have a masculine face. And the third thing that get ignored, but it's not in the manifesto yet because it's not present technology, is that maybe you can like prevent the estrogen from affecting the fertility if you do something, maybe have some local drug or something that prevents that effect. You will have much better effect from the transition. So I'm very
I don't know. I
frustrated.
I think with respect to the masculinity in the face, like you're fundamentally correct that there is, like if you look at the picture of her, there is a lot of masculinity, and I was thinking, it's not so much about, I think trans women are very insecure about their gender identity, right? They really want to be read as female. And so they're thinking about, when they think about masculinity in the face, they're just thinking in terms of like oh, I want to look like a cis woman or something like that. They're comparing themselves to cis women, right? But I think I don't know. Like my mindset is that it's more about aesthetics, right? Because like if I look at this picture of Cara Delevingne, it's I'm going back to that where like um, I imagine that picture of her. Like it would be very educational to take that photo that's in VC right now, take that photo and Photoshop a bumpy man nose onto her face, right? Like, or take one of the pictures of her where she's like particularly ugly looking, with the paparazzi pictures, and Photoshop a man nose on her face. I'm telling you, if she had a man's nose, people would think of her as disgusting and ugly. You change one feature about her face, and it's not the masculinity and the femininity that people are necessarily queuing off of. I think it's the aesthetics. I think it's like, oh, she's got a pretty nose, she's got a pretty face, right? So they're not particularly queuing off of whether she's male or female. They're queuing off of the fact that she's pretty, right? So if you look at her, she's pretty. She's masculine. She's a pretty masculine woman. She's a
The
and so
thing
like
is that
I think I don't know.
what you have to do in any case is that what I have realized is that for one, you either need to go off HRT completely and not take it, or you need to like take HRT and socially transition later. You need to do the social transition if you start on estrogen. Like you should let boy mode for too long. That's a very bad idea. You should only like boy mode enough, so you do like the voice training, you do like are able to pass decently, then you do it, then you like socially transition when you're ready. You might have to wait longer if it is like a bad environment. Or this is like the first conclusion, you need to socially transition. And I also think you need to socially transition even if you don't really pass. And the final conclusion is that like once you have like got your breast growth from HRT, you might actually want to get off it again. So you got your breast, and then you get like your feminine presenting, and then you like are happy with like you don't care if your face becomes more masculine. You just, because what's more important, is it to be like feminine or is it to be have children? It's more important to have children, obviously. There's no debate really. You should stay on HRT logically, but the thing is people ignore that advice in the transmaxxing manifesto because they don't believe in the same ideology as me.
Yeah. Well, okay, and again, you have a Politburo, you're authoritarian, but you do allow people to have a different point of view on different topics. And it's funny. It's funny. Most people equate authoritarianism with anti-freedom of speech, but paradoxically, it allows a greater divergence of opinion. Like people can have like they don't nobody. I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone agrees with you on the child rearing thing. Like they're like, you know what? Fuck that. Like we're Zoomers. We don't care. Devil may care. Like and I think in terms of the reason why they don't want to come off of HRT is I think they think of it as like a pretty vital medication that they need. Like I think because like if you read some of the threads people are talking about, like if they there was one person, I don't want to say their name, they just they were short on getting their testosterone blocker, and so they still had estrogen. And they said that just coming off the testosterone blocker, it wasn't dysphoria. They felt this horrible feeling of like their like male sex drive coming back. They felt this horrible feeling of compulsion, like sex for men is much more compulsory. It's more optional for women, and they started to get that feeling of compulsory sex and this urge to go out and have sex, and like they didn't like it. It was very unwelcome. And part of what happened when they took HRT is like they you know how we were talking about how incels experience a lot of desperation, and that desperation is like a driving force. It's almost like a pain. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go have sex to just get rid of this pain that I have, like a hunger pain, right? And I think a lot of trans women, they experience relief when they take HRT, because it gets rid of that compulsion, and
Yeah, but
they find a lot of relief in
yeah,
that.
but I actually have a counter to that. Like, if you become attractive as a trans woman, why will it matter if you feel that compulsion? You can just have sex and be happy. Where is the problem? And I can also say that I cannot relate to the problem as a male because I am not on HRT and I have never been and don't have that problem. Like, I don't feel compulsion. So I'm wondering,
Yeah,
like, are these people different or what is it? Really?
yeah. They need to get in here and have a conversation with you and suss this whole thing out, because like I kind of understand what they're saying. They're, you know, it's kind of like, um, not to name names, but you know, there's some trans women that are there's exclusively using the term, like an aphrodisiac, which would be, you know, wanting to. It's the opposite of an aphrodisiac. They want to destroy their sex drive for whatever reason, whatever their motivation is. They find relief in destroying their sex drive,
Yeah, I think
or
that
lowering it.
the issue is maybe that these people have been conditioned by society to feel ashamed of their sexual desire as males because they think that this is like a bad thing, like an ugly thing, don't find the correct word. So they are like trying to get away from that for some reason because it makes them uncomfortable by the nature. But if you don't have that problem, like if you don't view your sex drive as a problem, then you will not really feel that discomfort by it.